Hi, my name is Guy Waterman. I'm with HCM Product Development, and today's session is the analytics session on how to solve people problems faster with analytics. Welcome to CloudWorld 2022. All right. So today's session, I want to give you a chance to really experience analytics, and I want to share with you what to expect, because right now people analytics means a lot of different things to different individuals. And I'm going to lead with what customers want from analytics. So there is a bit of a background that we'll go through. And there's a montage of quotes that you'll typically get on business value and why it's important. They typically provide the ability to link back to a business value statement, and that's one of the areas that I wanted to do. So there is really this functional ecosystem that exists that I'll be covering on. We will also take a look at development of scenarios that we have within the within analytics. So what's delivered, what comes out of the box? I think that from a people analytics standpoint, most folks want to know, if I've got the HCM data, what can I work with? But then the other thing that I wanted you to know about was, what are the steps that people have gone through? What are steps that customers that have adopted HCM Analytics, what have they done? How have they gotten there? What are the steps that they went through? And what are some of the benefits and pitfalls of taking different approaches? So we'll go through that one. And then lastly, I wanted to just remind everybody about Cloud Customer Connect, because as we've done with our real-time analytics, you've had the ability to go out there and access a library of templated reports for OTBI. The same is available and growing rapidly for HCM Analytics, although I think you're going to see a lot of content that's very compelling that you'll be able to take and adapt as we roll forward. So in today's business, really data drives so much of what goes on in the business environment. And you might be surprised at how many executives aren't confident in the information that they have access to really make these decisions. It can be information out of date. It can be difficult to access even deeper insights. I'm always amazed at the fact that most organizations readily admit that their headcount reporting is not accurate up to the minute. It can take months and for them to assemble a headcount report across the globe, knowing that the final number they get is going to only be inaccurate as well. With here, you've got some numbers that I was able to dig up from some research that I've done, where I see that 88% of HR and finance professionals really agree that performance would be improved through data-driven collaboration, and it's clear that teams know how powerful these insights could be. But more often than not, what we're finding is that the foundation to support these efforts to go across the organization, they're really just not in existence. They don't exist. So we end up outsourcing that to maybe a third party, or we outsource that to the IT organization to put them in responsible of strategic decisions that would be made across HR and finance. The other thing that I look at is that if your HR and finance teams had connected real-time data analytics, how much better do you think the decisions would be that they're going to make? You know, how do you think that that's going to impact the agility that your organization has? And that's really one of the premises that I'm going to go through today's conversation, is to try to postulate how that impact to your organization can improve your performance, can improve the alignment and the achievement of your strategic goals by simply paying attention to what's going on within people analytics. So from who are the people that are involved with people analytics, and who is it relevant to? And we know that business leaders are really consumed with accessing data and trying to get them the backing that they need to support the strategic decisions and recommendations they're going to make. But the connection to the information that they have is, well, it's disconnected from the transactional processes that are going on within the workforce. And really for them to begin to identify, let's say, a negative trend in workforce mobility, to identify the root cause and then take immediate action on preventing further attrition of high potential team members, it may not exist. And in fact, the delays are going to cost real dollars. They're going to impact the organization in a real way. Now, managers, on the other hand, some of the things that they can see and they can gain from people analytics are to get that personalized insight for their team's performance at any time. A lot of times we end up seeing that we're going to limit in the analytics, people analytics insights to executive management and to the HR partners, the HR department. I'm a big supporter that we need to get the information back into the hands of those line managers, because that's where the real decisions are being made. The information and content that we can and recommendations we can provide to those line managers are the ones that will have the greatest impact overall. And then if we're going to provide those insights to line managers, how far is it for us to be able to get personalized analytics delivered to the actual workers themselves? So if I'm making recommendations for a line manager to help improve the effectiveness of his team, why can't those same recommendations be tailored and then focused down on the individual? What are the capabilities that are going to be answered? What access to information can I have? Things like asking the questions about what was my pay, what kind of vacation do I have? Do I have any absences that are left? When did I take vacation last? And being able to get access to that information on a personalized basis is something that would help HR out immensely. So one of the things that I've done as well is organize then around different ways that I can orient HR analytics to business outcomes. And analytics can help an organization keep up with current performance levels and help them guide their workers. All the actions have inherent value in that they point to trends in the business. They help an organization minimize negative trends while also alerting them to opportunities that exist. HR process metrics can provide insights to employee sentiment, well-being, and general health of the organization. Performance indicators can be an indicator of productivity, impact of a manager's guidance on the people that are on his team or her team. The engagement metrics really begin to sense what is the employee sentiment, what's the mood out there on the floor that we've got from an employee perspective, and is there an impending risk of maybe losing groups of workers because they're just not happy. Then you have the notion from an employee, the NPS, which is a Net Promoter Score. Looking at pulse surveys and trying to get your finger on what employees believe now, what they're thinking about, what they're talking about, and getting closer to them and being able to not react, but guide the mood when you start seeing some of the sense of sentiment going in a negative direction, be able to do things like plan celebrations for them as well. And there's also this whole new category called the digital workplace metrics that enables us to really shorten the distance between office workers and maybe the more, what we can now see, more traditional home workers. I'm able to manage them more effectively by looking at the telemetry associated with their activity to see what kind of behaviors that they have. There's a whole science behind their productivity around time to complete tasks and then their activity online that you can use to help create some really great insights for managing what is the new reality in those mobile workforces or remote workforces. And as I was doing the research for this particular presentation, I came across this McKinsey report, and I'm a fan of these maturity type documents that are going on. And what this talks about is, what does it take if I'm going to be great at people analytics? Where do I rate? That's the first thing you want to figure out. And then where am I on the journey? And this McKinsey document it actually starts with, if you look at the low step on the step one, people that have really poor data or no data. And then we're migrating up to good, strong, advanced, and reliable predictions type data. And the thing that I've noticed is that most customers start with a view that I'm really pretty good with my employee data. But then when we go in and we do an assessment with them, you realize that different parts of the business are at different levels of people analytics maturity. There might be some parts of the business that have the ability to perform advanced analytics, while there are other parts of the organization that actually have very little or very poor quality of data. And part of what we've done working with customers is help them identify those areas that need to improve. And my goal has always been following the theory of constraints, in that you should not try to advance the organization beyond the least common denominator. So if I have someone that is looking at poor data and I've got another group that's working at advanced analytics stages, I need to get that poor data organization up where we have strong data, and maybe tamp the expectations of the organization that is going to want to accelerate and go beyond everyone else. We want to bring everyone along at the same pace so that we're experiencing organizational-wide improvement in the in analytics and our results. Now, to do that, take a look at some of the product maturity type documents, and that's what this graph does. It's one, if you've been in any of my presentations before, you've seen this. Starting from the left, going to the right, you're seeing inherent value increasing, but then it also has this implied notion of improved capability as we're going forward. The preference is to move from a transactional type solution to a strategic, predictive, even prescriptive form. And what the graph is describing here is that, and this is my assumption in here, that's why you're not seeing any source on this one, but my experience has been that 50% of the HCM marketplace has the ability to do basic reporting. Now, the quality may be of different values, but from descriptive to analysis to monitoring, to be able to trigger some basic alerts, that's about where half the market is at this point. And really, then I look at, then there's another 30% of the market that graduates into some kind of active monitoring, and that's the transition point here, that I could set up, whether they're trigger values or other measures to hit some alerts that notify me of trends that are emerging outside of the targeted business objectives. This is also where we're starting to able to predict what could happen, so we can begin to take active data and forecast from it. Then there's an additional 20%, so that's the balance of the market, that I would really say that they're the ones on that previous McKinsey slide that are probably rated a 4 or a 5, and it's a minority of the marketplace, because they've taken care of their data quality, they've taken care of their real-time reporting, they've taken care of their basic forecasting needs, and then they've been able to move forward. And remember, you need to have all of those things in line if you're going to start basing very prescriptive recommendations coming out of an automated tool, because the rewards are great, but the risks can be high as well. So we really need to make sure that those types of capabilities are ones that, as we move forward, we're doing so in a very, very prescribed manner. Okay. So while I was taking a look at the session and I was proposing, what's going on, one of the recommendations was made is that the attendees wanted to see how organizations would adopt people analytics. And that's what I tried to do here. And I came up with these scenarios, and I've had hour-long sessions on this one topic alone and not getting off of the one slide. And the 5 scenarios that we see, and they're not mutually exclusive, some of them can blend, but these are the ones we typically will come back to. And it's really where we're starting to see people are, what they're ultimately trying to do is create insights that enable the organization to dramatically improve its worker effectivity and overall HR performance. That's a lot of words, but that first scenario, greenfield. Now, this is where a customer doesn't have Cloud HCM or People Analytics in place. Basically, they're a new subscriber, and then they'll migrate HR data from their existing environments, and then they'll use it to build their People Analytics platforms. Now, customers asks me, can't they just implement analytics after they go live on HCM? Which, of course, you can, and that's one of those. Well, it's a scenario that I'm going to talk about next. However, there is a real benefit to implementing a solution and doing it with People Analytics in mind, because the benefits you're going to have will be ready the first day that you go live, but you're also going to end up making some business decisions based upon the kind of output that you're really seeking from the system. It's much more like looking at the outcome-based treatment when we get into the medical field. What's the design, what's the output, and then using that to flavor the process as we're moving forward in the implementation. Now, in the second scenario, just as I described here, you may have an HCM environment already, and you're just going to add an analytics platform to it. That's a good approach, particularly for people that haven't considered it at implementation. Now the solution is available to them. It is a relatively quick deployment, but be aware there may be some redesign and re-implementation for you to achieve the kinds of results that you're looking for. You may have made some decisions during your implementation that are going to have to be rethought. Or adjust your expectations on what the output and the outcomes are going to be like one. Now, there's another one that is probably less frequently involved, but it's where maybe an ERP or a supply chain system with analytics exists before an HCM system comes into realm. And this is typically for Oracle ERP customers, for Oracle supply chain customers, and they then will add on an HCM system. Now, you can certainly do it. These are all single instance capabilities, but it's one of those situations where I see that happening infrequently. Typically, we're doing them together with ERP and HCM at the same time, so much more like the greenfield opportunities. Now, there's another more frequently encountered scenario where an organization may have Oracle Analytics Cloud before they've gone forward with their applications. They use analytics as their enterprise solution. And as you know, OAC is a highly rated analytics platform. And this is one where we're adding data definitions to the analytics model. And then we're adding a lot of pre-built content based upon those data definitions right on top of it. Now, the cool part is that you get to link together third-party information or cross-pillar information in this regard, and it's already in a single environment. You can do things around structured and unstructured data, maybe deploying some of the advanced capabilities. And typically, the users of the analytics platform can derive a tremendous amount of value quickly because they're already familiar with the visualization capabilities as well. Now, and lastly, there's some partner content, and some of the ones that I've referred to here, I know the folks at Accenture that are delivering the Aware product. I know the folks at Deloitte, and even some with Evosys that have delivered capabilities within the analytics platform. And it's a complement to what we provide with something that's called HCM Analytics. They typically will bundle in with this pre-delivered content that is tailored to your organization, has been highly effective. They can help you get a very quick start as well. So would also give that one a thumbs up on taking a look at a way to get started with analytics as well. Now, within delivered content, and this might go a little fast, so just realize this, that I want to say that we've delivered over 800 HCM artifacts between KPIs, key performance indicators, analysis, other variations that we've delivered. Most importantly, though, really what we've done is that we've enabled access to the data. So we talk about delivered analysis and subject areas, and these are all available within the documentation. Go to your favorite search engine. Type in Oracle HCM Analytics and then the word pre-built, like you can see down here. That's actually hyperlinked to it, but it will get you to the documentation. And it lists out in chapter 7 and 8, it will list out all of the pre-built content that we've delivered, and that's where this is. I've been able to go and get some screenshots, and I've added it to the applications as well. But what you're seeing here are really, it's a full coverage of the HCM data, the data schema that's out there. It's not quite 100%. We're still pushing hard to cover that. And realistically, we may never be at 100% just because we keep on adding business functions faster than some of the teams can actually respond to and provide the inclusion. And there are other places where perhaps some of the customers aren't as interested in the content. But the data definitions and subject areas that are available for you to access are listed out here. The graphic depicts a dashboard, which we call a deck. It's not a dashboard, it's a deck. And then within that, you have KPIs that we call cards. So that's just a terminology thing that we are going to refer to. Again, microtype, I don't apologize for it because what it shows is that there's a tremendous amount of content, and I've given you the key of how to get where it's at. But there are so many KPIs here that we look at that are really focused on not just headcount, but team effectiveness, absence analysis, even bringing in content around ESG initiatives. And for HCM, ESG, the environmental, social, and governance components, are typically going to tend towards DE&I, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion type of capabilities across those HCM activities. But they're available readily right out of the box and ready for you to be able to take and move with as well. Now, here's an example where, core HR, there's an analysis that's delivered, and you can see that there are many different KPIs that are listed across the top of the page. And this is called a visualization or an analysis. And you'll notice that across the bottom of the page that there are a lot of subfolders, it looks like, and that's what they are. They're actually entirely other pages that have many different analytics that are built on them. These visualizations give you the variety of information that you can then choose and decide what makes the most sense for you, and then tailor the visualization to different organizations and put together briefing books for the teams as well. Now, one of the other things that we can do here is to get a holistic view of team strengths and weaknesses is the employee effectiveness. And this was something that the analytics team felt strongly about. And they were able to manage then scores of the team performance based upon the managers. And then this is designed to help the manager's manager focus in on the different teams that are performing well, where they might need assistance. There is the ability to drill into some of these capabilities and then get analysis of team performance across comp ratios, across span of control. But it's providing a consistent framework upon which all managers then can be evaluated, and then also provide them the necessary feedback. So employee sentiment is something that really I enjoyed working with in the HCM applications because we do have really, really strong natural language processing or NLP functionality within the application. And the system has the ability to scan a lot of text input and a lot of other input, and then provide you assessments on word clouds to be able to take a look at really where the mood of the organization is, and then understand that sentiment, and then what's the impact for you to begin maybe analyzing some of that on your own. The delivered content is a really great starting point because I know I wasn't really very good at it when I first started. After working with it for a few months, it really shows some great insights as well. Looking at workforce dynamics, there's a lot of capabilities around source of supply, where people that are in maybe some leadership positions now came from, what was the path that they took? Is there some commonality? Are there individuals within that one? There is also the ability here for us to incorporate graph analytics that enables us to do some artificial intelligence, machine learning type of analysis across the different sources of, or the places where people have come from, where their common experiences are. And then we can see different types of commonality that exists with them as well. Again, this is a visualization that has many different views that you can work with. These are all delivered, and they're just good examples of how I can leverage the existing portfolio to provide additional information. Now, we've done some diversity access as well. I really encourage you to take a look at this because there are some requirements for ESG and diversity reporting. There is a workforce valuation initiative that started about 2 years ago for any publicly traded company in the U.S. to report this information to the Security and Exchange Commission. Typically, what's been happening is the financial organization has been submitting these reports as part of their 10K, when I think that the HR department is the one that really needs to be responsible for that. And you're able to get a lot of that information, not just EEO information, but taking a look at where are the investments happening within the organization, what kind of goodwill have you built that has value associated with it, because the quality of your workforce is an asset to your organization, and this helps define that. And, you know, again, taking a look at looking at turnover and retention, looking at adding some other capabilities such as this explain function, I can do analysis, and then I can apply some embedded machine learning right on top of it to give me that. Remember, we were talking about predictive and prescriptive capabilities that were available within the application for more advanced users. Here it is built into the system, and I can have the system run through a lot of data and then give me those things that are either commonality or anomalies, and then tell me what those anomalies could indicate. And it gives me some insights and recommendations that I can potentially take action upon. Recruiting is always a big area of interest, and I think that you can see we have a strong number of capabilities there. And then looking at effectiveness across different sourcing channels. From a recruiter standpoint, you have the ability to access this information. So in the interest of time, I'm going to skip ahead so that we don't run out of time. And you can see that there's a lot of capability that exists within the product. This is one of the big benefits that you're going to find from the HCM Analytics capability, is that we're delivering a lot of this content. And I would say 90% of my customers end up taking what we have and then they extend upon it. They typically are not using what we have out of the box. They'll take that and then they'll use it to create their own analysis. Lastly, I do want to point out one thing, is that we have the ability to go ahead within the HCM Analytics solution and bring in third-party data. And we did a lot of this during the recent couple of years, where we're trying to bring in governmental information to look at absence analysis and things where there are opportunities with staffing. I still think that's a big opportunity, and the cross-pillar reporting capabilities and people analytics is going to be something that you're definitely going to want to look at. So the road ahead, from a roadmap perspective, and Safe Harbor exists here, these are roadmaps that are available on Cloud Customer Connect. Please go out there, and if you take a look at the readiness assessment on Cloud Customer Connect, you're going to see there's an HCM Analytics subcategory by itself that has its own analytics, and they're updated quarterly. So please keep on top of it there. We've talked about what was available today. The upcoming is going to be in the next 6 months, and there are so many modules that are out there that are being delivered today. We've mentioned that there are some things around journeys. There are certain pieces that we have around dynamic skills that are coming along as well. We're delivering some pre-built reporting. This has as well with it some real-time reporting, because we not only have a data warehouse solution, we also have the data that's coming right off of the transactional database. And that's an example of what we would call OTBI reports. That's what you're going to see with the real-time reporting. But in the future, take a look at questionnaires, surveys, HR help desk information, employee profile, talent profile 2.0 coming in, opportunity marketplace for managing internal and global mobility opportunities. And this is the talent development mobility solutions that we're talking about that are out there as well. I would say that the biggest thing that we have that is on the horizon, and I'm going to end up with this for you, is to take a look at what we're doing with Redwood. And I mentioned this in some sessions that I had earlier, but this is changing the way that we're looking at information and consuming information. Specifically, as I look at it, you're going to see that the pages here look very different. They're somewhat similar, but left-hand side, we've got the headline that's listed out there. There's a summary that exists within the solution. Using NLP, we're able to get those summaries, and we're also then going to be able to publish some suggestions and prescriptive recommendations that are out there. We're highlighting dynamic content of the page so that the most important things are going to be at the top. I think that you look at the right-hand side, and this is where there is a concept that's called find, do, and know. That is the way that these pages are being constructed. And it is, find the information that is most relevant to me at this point. Be able to take actions from that same page, but then also be able to do additional research if necessary. I do have one example that I can show you what a completed version of this looked like. And you can see that this report, and this is an example of what we would call the deck. It's not a dashboard, it's a deck, but it's a financial one that says, here's the cash report for January 2021. And I've got this executive summary that's coming off of all these analytics I'm about to show you. But the other thing that you're going to note here is that as I scroll through it, this is a continual process. You're seeing the content that's delivered. There's plenty of reports. This looks like a report that someone sat down and they actually constructed on their own, providing their own insights, getting their own analysis, when actually this was an automated solution. This was an automated report that was being created. And then I'm just scrolling down, and instead of getting dashboards, I'm now getting information that's helping me guide the business, that's pointing out things that I need to pay attention to. And just a very different way of taking a look at what we're doing within analytics. So as we wrap up here, there are some customer use cases that exist out there. I would like for you to access, if you go to customer successes on oracle.com, and I'll cover these if you're coming to CloudWorld in person. I'll be covering these with the people in the room, and they'll be standing up and telling their own stories. But with it being recorded, we're going to respect their privacy, but encourage you to go out and take a look at the customer successes, request HCM Analytics, and you're going to find how organizations have really improved their team effectiveness, retention, diversity, and compa ratios, how lowering TCO and improving employee engagement has helped them reduce turnover. Really taking analytics and using it to impact the overall business are some of the things that we see happen on a regular basis. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you for attending the analytics session. I hope you get a chance to visit with us, because we'd like to see you as part of the analytics community here at CloudWorld. It's really been a great opportunity for me to share some insights with you all. As you can tell, we're super excited about what we're doing with analytics and look forward to you all engaging me. Feel free to reach out to me on my email that's listed here if you've got any questions or any way that I can help you out. I appreciate it.